Hey, what's going on? Welcome back to my little space here on the internet. Today I felt super stuck just because it's a lot of, everyone knows, it's not like it's not a revelation coming out of my mouth, but everyone knows that there is some insane, unspeakable, mind-boggling, horrific, crazy things going on in the world, and things that just keep getting uncovered every single day. It's a lot, and I'm trying at the moment to find a balance between being informed and then being able to just culminate a little bit more high vibrational energy. And I know that saying that, there's even a weird thing in saying that, because it's inherent privilege to be able to even do that. How do you even begin? And I think that's the thing, is that no matter where you look, you just feel weird about doing anything, because we're in this position, you and I, where we are a little bit helpless in the sense that we can't do anything except for be upset, be angry, learn the truth, be able to use our discernment, be able to dig past all of the propaganda. But in saying that, I'm a big believer in energy. I obviously studied to be a meditation teacher, and this whole thing has pulled me back into pulling out my notebooks and stuff and just refreshing my studies. And I do want to do a refresher course when I can. Having the collective raise their frequency and put that energy into it is also extremely important. I mean, science has proven time and time again that our energy does influence the outcome of the world around us in a way. And so it's a little dangerous when we're seeing constant horror, constant low vibrational energy, constant horrific things coming out of people's mouths that are vibrating at the lowest of the low. I feel like they've created a new bar. It's insane. And when you feed that back into the greater collective, it brings everything down. And so everything starts functioning on that low of low. And how do you climb out from that? Because then everything starts to feel useless. And I think that's the thing that I'm personally grappling with today, is this whole thing of every time I try to do something, it feels useless. It feels stupid. It feels silly. Like enjoying anything at the moment feels a little bit goofy, because you stop and think about it and there's almost like a shame or a guilt that comes across because of everything that is happening at this moment elsewhere. I've always loved to create things. That is how I function. That is how I thrive. Would not be a human or any kind of being without that. But then there comes this situation where it's like, okay, well, how do you create stuff of value that is also sensitive to everything that's going on in the world? Because I don't just want to act like nothing's happening. Of course, there are outlets and stuff that are used for that reason, for distraction, so you don't have to hear about it or whatever. And I don't plan on delving into it, because there are heaps of people that are very well educated that are doing that and who are uncovering the truth. Bless those people. I want to be a little bit of an escape in a way, but also not kind of a tone deaf escape, if that makes any sense. So that's why more meditation videos are coming, because let's make the most of the privilege of being able to sit down and culminate that energy and hopefully send that with great intention out into the ether, the universe, and let that work its magic. I think there is so much benefit in having faith in that, and I do think it helps. hopefully. But yeah, I'm going to be posting a lot more on my Substack and just putting streams of consciousness out. I'm thinking of starting a new column that is almost like a public diary entry, and I think that helps. When I was scrolling through Substack this morning, I saw a lot of people posting their thoughts and personal essays and just feelings, and sometimes I think we can feel like that might be a bit, I don't know, we can get imposter syndrome. Let's just call it imposter syndrome doing that. But I actually feel like I love that. I mean, a lot of the books that I'm loving right now are personal essays, and I think everyone's thoughts and opinions are valid in that way. Like, obviously, using discernment again, there are some opinions that, like, you know what I mean? I don't have to go into that. But in the scope of just like stuff that I've seen on Substack, particularly from other women writers, it makes you feel less alone when you read these words and you just consume that kind of content. So that is something that I do want to just throw my hat in the ring and do. Today I was thinking a lot about conscious consumption. I made like a little TikTok clip that I may post, I may not, depends on how it edits together and all of that. But my ring collection, I filled one hand and I'm slowly filling the other hand, and just all my jewelry. I get asked about it a lot, both online and also when I'm out and about. People stop me and ask me where my necklaces are from, where my rings are from, and I can give them some degree of an answer because some of these are from actual places. Like, I've got two from Majuri. One of my dear friends has the most beautiful jewelry brand ever, House of Slani. I'll link in the description. You should support her. She's amazing. Beautiful independent artist. Yeah, but for the most part, I kind of just curate it in a way where a lot of the stuff is just really personal. Like, this is from my nana, this chain's from my best friend, one of these charms is from my best friend, this butterfly is from my partner. There's just lots of little things, and I feel like my jewelry collection is one that I would feel really excited to pass down to my children one day if they want that. I feel like, Mum, get your raggedy jewelry away from me. Got me thinking about conscious curation and how that has a broader effect, because what we're finding in the industry of fast fashion consumption, of mindless consumption, if you will, consumption for the sake of consumption, for the sake of just having always something new to wear. There's a lot of people that feel afraid of coming onto the internet in the same outfit that they wore last week, even though we're all aware that washing machines exist and that most people have access to one, or a laundromat. I think in times like this, a dire crisis like this one, it puts into perspective the idea of this mindless consumption, and it makes it seem so much more absurd than usual when you actually think about it, and you actually think about the fronts we put on online and the fears that we have about being seen online in the same clothes or in stuff that's not on trend. I mean, what are we chasing, really? What are we chasing? And where is the substance? And I think Mia and I actually had this thought when we went to Sydney Fashion Week. We had a great time together. We really wanted to see a little bit more platforming of independent designers, fashion students, that kind of thing, because just in my time in Sydney alone, I met and knew about so many amazingly talented fashion students that were graduating university, and they were coming out with their graduation collections, and they were actively designing and trying to make their segue into the industry. And my goodness, the amount of talent that just I feel like does not get adequately represented is insane. Such diverse talent. Both of us feel like that is something that we want to see more of in the coming years, especially in Australia. I mean, there is such a great opportunity to platform these artists, these designers, and yet I just don't feel like we're doing it quite enough. You know, it's always the people who have already made it, the big names that are already there, and I just feel like there could be a little bit more of that. And I think there is more value in conscious consumption as well. You find these little things that feel like your own little treasures, whether that be discovering a new brand from somewhere, or meeting someone who designs something, or even getting things passed down through your family and wearing them with pride. I mean, this unconscious consumption really closes our eyes to everything that's going on. I mean, where do the morals come in and where does the conscious energy come in? And I feel like when you get used to that spiral of just unconsciously consuming for the sake of it, or for the sake of keeping up with something, what are you keeping up with is the bigger question here, but like we can save that for later. I mean, where's the line? And where in that do you become unconscious in multiple areas of your life? Because everything is a domino effect. If you choose to be someone who just consumes without really thinking about it, or thinking about how am I going to wear this? How am I going to take care of this? How long am I going to wear it for? And if I choose to get rid of it, how am I going to do that? Is there someone that I know that would love this? Do I have a way of making this more of a circular experience? Is this item worthy of having a circular experience? Are the textiles just going to literally fall apart and not be able to be recycled or given to someone else? These are things that it just takes 2 seconds to think about. And even things like learning how to repair your clothes when they're coming apart a little bit, or learning how to adjust items so maybe they fit your style evolution a little bit better. I think this also comes back to full circle back. This is not a scripted video, as you can clearly tell. Full circle back to personal essays and that whole thing on Substack, and the idea of starting a personal column, a Carrie Bradshaw, if you will, even though hers was like a sex column, but like it was very much about her personal experiences through life and her friends and all that. You've probably seen Sex and the City. Of course, if you're here, you've probably seen it multiple times. Join the club. And how that innately brings you back to some kind of presence, some kind of groundedness, some kind of truth, as long as it's a truthful column, because anyone and their mum can write some BS and post it online, and it's not digging deep at all. But if you are going into it with the intention of being really raw, being really deep, being honest, even if it feels so weird, that is where you hit that same level of consciousness, and it makes you think about other things. I think as soon as you shift to a really conscious, grounded mindset in one area of your life, for example, conscious curation of jewelry, for example, then it opens up the gateway for something else to come in that makes you think. And it sounds really basic because it is. It is. But the wider concept of it is where it gets a little bit into the nitty gritty, because how many areas in life can we be conscious? Like all areas, but it's so hard sometimes to even sit in that space because it's very dense. Maybe this whole conversation is about asking the question of, in what areas of your life are you finding that you're very conscious? In what areas of your life are you finding that you are less conscious? And it's not about berating yourself or making yourself feel bad or feel shame about it. It's just asking the simple question and asking, okay, well, if these are the places that I'm not actively present or conscious, what may happen if I start delving into that? What happens if I start having a strict journal practice, say morning and night? I'm trying to incorporate that myself. Upstairs in our room, we've got our old coffee table that we brought upstairs. I've got a candle up there and some cards and stuff in my journal. And the idea is to be able to leave the room in the morning. You have to have a moment at the table. It could be a moment of speaking out. It could be a moment of turning in. It could be a moment of writing. It doesn't have to be journal time, but it's just a moment of presence and groundedness and reflection. And then the same thing when you come in before you're able to go to bed, you have to do the same thing at the table. It's a little pit stop. And so we can call that the pit stop table. Let's call it that. And something like that has brought me into a bit more consciousness, because I found that my mornings were becoming a bit unconscious. And so while I am conscious in curating, I was unconscious in the way that I would treat myself the minute I woke up in the morning. I was just kind of like, I'm still working on it, but same thing when I went to bed. It was just kind of a bit unconscious, bring work to bed and not have that moment of reflection and groundedness. So that's something that I'm trying to incorporate. So that's an example. It's just asking, where are you conscious and where are you not? Maybe I've been hyper conscious in creation of late, which is what's made everything feel useless. Even me sitting down to talk right now took a lot, because I just felt like, what's the point and who would care right now? But maybe it'll help in some way for you to be a bit more balanced in your ways of thinking, because that is, I feel, the key right now. Having to watch everything play out, not being able to really do anything about it on a large scale, and having to just stay up to date. All you can do is be knowledgeable. All you can do is find the truth in all of this. And so your mental balance, that really is important. Asking yourself, what kind of role do you want to play in this culture, in this society that is so messed up, man? It's so messed up. It's so corrupted. It's so disgusting. Like, every day. And you just get delivered this information and you don't even know what to do with it. It's like, thanks for that. I love Substack personally, and I think a lot of people are turning to that to write very conscious, very honest, very raw columns, essays, articles. And so, yeah, I think writing's always been extremely pivotal, extremely important, extremely supportive beam for us as humans, for our lineage, for everything. Writing is everything and always will be and always has been. However, I think now more than ever, people are going to be turning to it that didn't really think about it that way before. The semblance of words just it creates a whole world where people can feel like they relate, where people may feel like they don't relate at all, where people might feel angry, where people might feel happy, sad, scared, camaraderie. They are the catalyst for our culture, for our society, for everything. And so I feel like there will be a great emphasis on that. And I think that's why Substack has taken off the way it has, because it's a way that people can speak and be heard and share. Did this turn into a Substack endorsement? I don't understand. Make of that what you will. And I'll see you next time. Ti amo e ciao. I think I told you a while ago about my idea of a painting of a man, a really cool man with a really rad mustache on a horse with really long legs. And then the man also has really long legs and he's playing jazz music. I did it. Finish what you start.